Stay tuned for another episode of the Coming Soon podcast with sPidA.
Hey everybody, sPidA here, Coming Soon podcast once again here in San Antonio, Texas, with my guest right around the corner in San Marcos, man. And I meant to ask you this, Peter, as far as your last name, and if I mispronounce it, you can punch me later, brother. But Hyoguchi.
Yeah, it's Hyoguchi.
Okay.
Hyoguchi. I'm half Japanese.
Gotcha, man. And I know as far as I always like to ask as far as for you guys to pronunciate, but I figured I'd give it a shot, and I'm glad I kind of got it. So we're good there, brother.
Thank you.
Now, as far as all this week, man, I've been having the privilege to bring filmmakers, producers, writers on board, asking a few questions, man. But also getting into a conversation to where, find out a little bit more as far as what inspires you guys, what motivates you, and right now, I just want to ask. When did this all begin for you?
You mean filmmaking?
Yes, sir.
Well, I was born into the business. My mom, I was born in Hollywood, and my mom was in the business. She was an animator, and she worked at Hanna-Barbera Studios. So she worked as an animator on a few shows. She worked on Scooby-Doo and the Flintstones, and she did those Kool-Aid commercials where the guy goes, the Kool-Aid man like busts through the wall and goes,
yes.
Oh, yeah. She animated the mouth and the face, because what they did was they had a guy dressed up in a suit, in a Kool-Aid pitcher suit, and he would bust through the wall, but there was no face on it. So she would paint the face on it like frame by frame. It's called rotoscoping. And she would make him say, "Oh yeah," and then all the other stuff that he would say for the commercial. And so she did that when I was a baby, and then as I loved cartoons, and so she would teach me how to. I said I wanted to make cartoons, so she goes, "Well, first you need to learn how to draw." So she taught me how to draw, and she was really patient with me. And so because I was obsessed with drawing, and she had her art studio in the house, and then she gave me a little art studio in my bedroom. Right. And then she gave me all the art supplies, and but I was obsessed. So that's all I wanted to do was draw. And then when I was able to make cartoons, she showed me how to do frame by frame, like flip books.
Yeah.
And then that's pretty much all I did, was like play with my Star Wars figures and then make cartoons. And I didn't realize this, but I was making movies. So I was doing it constantly. By the time I was 10, I was making cartoons.
Wow.
And my mom and dad got a divorce. We moved to Marin County, and to be closer to her mom and dad and her brother. They lived right near George Lucas. So then it was sort of like all of a sudden living where they made Star Wars, and where Industrial Light and Magic was, and everyone that I met seemed to be working for George Lucas. Like my best friend that I made this best friend who was also an artist. His dad ran ILM, Industrial Light and Magic. And so we had access to ILM in the 80s, and we would watch them make all these movies. And I already knew how to do rotoscoping, and I knew how to animate. And I was like, me and my buddy, whose dad ran ILM, like we were the best artists in school, and we would compete with each other to try to like who could sell the most art to our classmates. Because our parents were artists, so we learned how to draw and how to be creative really early on. So we were like far more advanced. Yeah. When other kids were doing like stick figures, we were doing like perspective with shadow, and we understood all of that. Oh, you too?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm still doing them though. I can't draw, bro.
Oh. So yeah, I was lucky to be around that, and I was taught how to do visual effects by some of the people who were, some of the visual effects supervisors at ILM, And I just had great teachers, and I was in like the right place at the right time. And then I started making movies, and yeah, I made my first feature film when I was 17.
Wow, bro. I mean, and of course, like you said, I mean, in the beginning you were obsessed, so it didn't feel like work. I mean, this is something that you wanted to do early on, and I mean, has your mentality stayed the same when it comes to not so much not making it work, but I mean, just having fun with it?
Yeah, I mean, I for some reason I love movies more than anything else, and that's all I think about. I'm surrounded by movie stuff. All these books are about movies, and I've got movie posters around my house, and I'm constantly writing something or working on something or watching films, thinking about films. I'm kind of like a one-track mind. It's always been that way ever since I was a kid, and it just seems to get more interesting as I get older. There seems like to be more to learn and more to do.
Yeah.
The only like complaint or problem that I've had is that I grew up with a single mother, and she didn't have much money. So I mean, it sounds like big Hollywood if she worked on these cartoons and everything. But when we moved to Marin, she became a secretary. And so we were surviving lower middle class childhood. I had this like deep desire to make movies, but movie making has been it's 100 years now, the art form, and almost everybody who makes movies is part of like the elite class. So like just going to film school is, you got to be rich, and you have to have time to not work a day job, to develop your skills. So what I did was I just was so driven, and I come from kind of a lower middle class background. So I realized if I wanted to make it as a director, I had to compete with the rich kids who are my same age, who were competing for those slots in the business. Yeah. And so I had to just become like a cinema monk, right? So like I would take minimum wage jobs so that I could write screenplays, and study film, and no job. I would take no job that took my brain away, which meant that I was really getting paid minimum wage, working at a video shop, working at a movie theater, or I took care of disabled adults for a while. I had lots of odd jobs, and just so that I could focus on being the best I could possibly be, because I knew that my super rich competition was like, their parents were just giving them the money to make movies, and they're giving them enough time to study. They could just sit back and watch films all day because their parents would give them money to do it. So if I wanted to be the best and to focus and compete with those guys, I just had to take major sacrifices, which is meaning just taking a vow of poverty. Like I slept on people's couches, or I rented a kitchen pantry to live in. And my 20s were all about living pretty much homeless.
Minimalist, huh? Just on minimal things, man.
Yeah.
Wow, bro. And I mean, because of that, let me ask you, I mean, has that influenced or somehow influenced you to make it? I mean, obviously you're like, man, okay, this is I'm living this way. I mean, just to make it happen. So you got to make it happen. I mean, was that a lot of pressure, or I mean, were you all for that?
Sometimes I felt like I had like an invisible gun at the back of my head, like it wasn't like I was trying to be driven. It just was like, I just had this deep need. I've always felt this great big need that I needed to make movies, but it was almost like having a need to climb Mount Everest with no backpack or boots or anything. Like I felt like I had to do it, like just total driven, but what's funny about that is it helped kind of my first major breakthrough in the business was I got a job to writing a screenplay about homelessness, about a mother and a daughter that get kicked out of their apartment, and they live in their car, and the mother's working like a supermarket checkout job, and the daughter's like going through junior high school, and and they're trying to keep it a secret that they live in their car, and they're saving up for first loss deposit so they can move into their house. So that was a job that was like my first screenwriting job, and I was working for a pretty established producer, and he loved the script, and then I ended up directing the movie, and that and it's really based on my own experiences being homeless and living in my car, and that movie ended up winning the San Francisco Independent Film Festival for Best Feature, and then the same year it won the New York Independent Film Festival for Best Drama, and then it was picked up on IFC, played on IFC, when that was a big deal on television, and then it was on Netflix, and it was before the video stores went away. It was in every video store.
Yeah,
people could rent it and everything, and so that was 2000. So that was like 24 years ago. But that kind of broke me into the film industry.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And of course, we were talking about video tapes the other day. I mean, a buddy of mine, and the fact that, I mean, everything that's nostalgic, I mean, of course, especially right now, is coming back. I mean, it hasn't left. There's still a lot of people that collect media when it comes to VHS, vinyl, cassettes, all that stuff. And I mean,
isn't that cool that it's coming back?
Oh yeah, bro. I mean, for me, people are like, "Oh, I'm collecting VHS," and I'm like, "Bro, I've had them. I still have them."
Right.
I don't collect them. I own this stuff, man. But yeah, it's like, I mean, it's for me. It's like I stream. I go through a couple of stream sites. Watch movies, but for the most part, I have a shelf with all my go-to movies, man. So it's like, if I want to watch, I'll grab one because I already know I'm gonna want to watch it. So, it's just my little safety net. But
I think young people are starting to figure out that the streaming platforms can just eliminate. They can just delete a movie at any given. You're paying them for a service or something. Even like iTunes, you're not really buying it. No. You're like you're buying the option to have it in a server that's not even on your server. So at some point, like, there's all these like film libraries that keep being purchased from all the different studios. And so the rights just go away sometimes. And it's like a movie that you think, oh, I want to see, whatever, Stand By Me or something. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, it's just nowhere to be seen. Like there's certain movies. There was a movie that I wanted to see the other day called, Rob Reiner made this movie after Spinal Tap. It's called The Sure Thing. It's a great film.
Okay, yeah.
And it's got early 80s, maybe 85 or something like that, 84. And it's a John Cusack movie, and I think it's one of the best like romantic comedies ever made. And I hadn't seen it in a while. I was like, oh, I want to go watch it, right? So I go on to Netflix, then I go on to HBO at Max, and then I'm on Amazon, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! The movie is not, where is it? Right? Where is the movie? It's gone. You can't see it. You can't see The Sure Thing. It's like one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, and it's not that old. Like, why is it missing? So I had to go to a pirating site to find it, but it's like, it. So I think physical media is really important. If you love films, they can just make them go away, and then if you have your own films collection, no one can take that away. Yeah.
No, yeah. You see, because behind me, I mean, I've got like 3 shelves of DVDs. Just for myself, this is all like horror, old pro wrestling. I mean, Godzilla, sci-fi, I got all sorts of stuff. But VHS, the same thing. I got walls of that stuff, man. And I got rid of a lot a while back, man. And it's just, I had a lot of doubles. I'm a stickler. I'm a sucker for what's it called, pre-rentals. As far as like stuff that has a label on there. For Blockbuster or whatever.
Yeah,
video
the
store.
little sticker that says drama.
There you go, man. Those are the ones that I go to. Even my movie posters. All my movie posters are all from video stores. Coming soon.
Okay, cool.
And that's where I got my podcast name from, man. Coming soon podcast, man. So that was I was like, you know what, man, I'm gonna go ahead and borrow that. But about the domain, and
it's a great title. How did you get into filmmaking?
With me, well, what I do is basically I'm a podcaster. I mean, I started blogging. I've been covering combat sports for over 15 years. I still have a podcast when it comes to combat sports. buddy of mine, he's in Austin right now, Braxton Smith. I interviewed him one time, and we're talking about movies, and he was like, man, like you watch horror, and I'm like, yeah, bro, like I grew up watching this stuff. We just started talking, and one thing led to another, and he was like, man, maybe we should start one. And I was like, you know what? Because we had looked around, and I was like, man, there's no horror podcast like in San Antonio. There was nothing. We couldn't find anything here in Texas, and I was like, you know what, man, let's go ahead and let's go with it, man. And I ended up, coming up with the name, bought the domain, started, I already had a podcast going, so I just transferred everything over and just started doing this, and it just kind of made sense. I was at a PFL MMA fights yesterday here in the Boeing Center, and I still love the sport, man. I go out there, hang out with fighters, but for me, it's just there's just like a wider range for to express myself when it comes to horror or doing this, So I was like, you know what, man, I'm gonna do this. So the podcast is what I do. I've been doing voice perks. I've been doing voice acting. I've been, getting into indie films. At least trying to. But that's my whole reason for that is just to kind of be full circle. I want to be able to, like, okay, well, you know what, I'm doing this. When it came to combat sports, I'll go back to it. I had a second cornerman's license. I would always take athletic tape, accessories, because I already knew like somebody's going to need it, so I kind of want to be that same person. I want to be able to just, if somebody needs something, like I'll be like, oh man, you know what, I have this guy, I'll reach out to him, see if they can help, and vice versa, just network and stay in that circle, but as far as making movies, I'm looking to start making short films, and those for myself, they're going to be personal, for my own personal self, but I want to express my creativity through them. I mean, I've already got 5 titles I'm working on. A buddy of mine here locally, he's going to be doing the video editing, the whole setup, everything else just going to be ran. We're just going to pick have within five of us. We're just going to start doing these, just kind of like, okay, you know what, this is what I need. This is who I need. Okay, who wants to do this, and just run it, man. Like it's not going to be a big production, when it comes to like what you guys are doing, but it's just, or, as far as like the equipment and everything, but it's just like for myself, it's going to be more for fun. But if I can create something out of it.
Well, what's cool is that, the equipment that I used on this movie is the same equipment you got. I mean, for the occult, we shot this movie very, very bare bones. And, a lot of times the crew was like my DP and a sound recorder, a sound recordist, and me and the actors. 90% of the time, that was the whole crew. And so when we had a bigger, more elaborate, we might have a camera assistant or a gaffer, but really, really small crew. I was the art director most of the time too. So it was just, just shooting in people's, borrowing locations, and no budget, zero budget.
Yeah. I might buy everybody pizza, who knows? That's about it. I won't spend too much money, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the same thing we want to do, man. And it's just, like I said, I just want to be able to do it. What we're trying to do is just within that circle, just like, hey, if you have ideas, man, pitch them out and let's just reenact them, For me, I think it was right before COVID, I had actually gone to 2 auditions, and I was like, you know what, let me try this. Let me see where it goes. I've always been shy, and it's just, it's kind of odd, because when I started getting into combat sports, like I was in there interviewing fighters, everybody's like, man, you're everywhere. I've been on TV just because I'm there. I've been, in commercials. I've been in just random video somewhere, on TV. People are like, dude, I saw you on the news, and doing an interview for this. It's just been a nice ride, and I'm like, you know what, man, let me go and see what I can get. I'm gonna be 50 years old this year, man, and it's just for myself. It's more, I think it was just like the perfect timing, throughout life. I've caught myself saying like, man, I wish I could have done this in my 20s and my 30s, and I couldn't. There's so much going on in my life during that time that with kids and work and everything else, that I wouldn't have had time. And now that kids are grown, things are paid, I'm like, okay, well, now I can afford to do this. I have my weekends off. I mean, my work's pretty lenient, so if I gotta bounce and ask for another extra day, like they're cool with it, and so that's what I want to do. I want to just start connecting with people like yourself, just to learn, find out as far as like, motivation. Man, for me, I have it. I'm like, I'm ready. I want to, this is what I want to do when it comes to podcasting, commentary. I've done it for combat sports. I've done it for events, just getting on the for PR, public relation. I mean, just anything having to do with media, just I want to be able to do it, because I can.
Yeah. That's
But
awesome.
Yeah.
Never
But, go ahead, Buzz.
What's that?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I just said never. It's never too late.
No. I mean, especially right now. I mean, for it's like I'll leave the films up to you guys. I mean, I want to keep supporting. I want to keep watching. I want to keep, just going along for the ride. Because it's one thing. I mean, when it comes to like you said, no budget or low budget films. I mean, there's, it's there's no money when it comes to how can I say it, to making the movie, but I mean, it costs money, it costs time, it costs, people. I mean, of course, people help out, they jump in, but it's just things that, we kind of all wish we had, just funds just to be able to pay everybody out and make everybody happy, but for the most part. But well, I mean, actually, when it comes to for yourself, I mean, you said it's a small crew. I mean, does that kind of make sense though? I mean, because right now, I mean, it's just you don't need a lot of people, right? I mean, as far as once the actors are done, I mean, that's it.
I mean, if you write a compelling story and you write to the locations that you have,
yeah.
Like if you have an aunt who has a coffee shop or something like that, it's like, well, then write a script that takes place in a coffee shop. Or, it's like your neighbor owns a bowling alley, like write a whole story that takes place in a bowling alley. When I was writing the occult, I mean, I was writing for locations that I knew I could probably get or figure out a way of getting them.
Right.
And it just took us years actually to do it. So it would be like whenever people were free to do it, we'd shoot a scene, then we'd stop and edit, and I'd review it and kind of forget about it for a while and then rewrite the next scene. And it was like done in little bits and pieces. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like a movie that was just shot normal, but it was 2 years of shooting.
Wow. Okay. You see, and I'm going to post this image up because this is the one that was in the IMDb. But the occult, I mean, as far as the inspiration for this, I mean, how did you go about writing it? I mean, what was it? Earlier you talked about that script you wrote about the mom and the kid being homeless, as far as experience. But was this something that you experienced as well?
Well, do you think we could show the trailer?
You know what? I couldn't download the video for some reason. I should have asked you to send me that link.
Can you just share your screen and then play it on YouTube?
Let me see if I can get on there real quick. Hold on, let me try this. But what I'm looking, I'm gonna keep talking.
Okay.
Now, I mean, so of course, the image itself.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up and then give you the. Let's see here. Let's see here. Here we go. So there's this. Is there a chat? I've never used this server. This the
StreamYard on my end, and that's what I was saying. Because if I get a video link, it has to be it can't be like I can't do YouTube. It's got to be like an actual link that you send.
Oh, okay.
And then I can just play it. Like that video I did earlier, it's just my buddy made it for me, and I was able to load it up on my computer and share it from there.
Well, maybe we can put the link in the description or something.
No, for sure, I'll definitely do that, man. And with that being said, I mean, I was able to watch the film. I mean, being born here in San Antonio, I mean, we've got psychic, pop-ups, I guess you can say, throughout the city. I personally don't do that. I have family members that do, and they've gone to them, and I think it's just more for myself. I think it's just assurance for them. They're kind of like, okay, well, things are going to be good. This is what I need to do. Mm-hmm. But I mean, with that being said, I mean, what was it in your life? What was it? What experience did you have that made kind of helped you write this?
Well, I've always had psychic experiences and supernatural experiences. Just always, um, when I was a kid, I would see ghosts, and
Yeah.
sometimes I would know what was going to happen before it happened. And so I was always kind of interested in the supernatural. And then I grew up in Hollywood, and I live in Texas now, and I've been here for about 4 years. But prior to that, just being around Hollywood and being around people in the business, many of them are interested in the occult and witchcraft and Satanism. And I had many friends of mine who started to get, involved in groups that were doing rituals and communicating with spirits. And I was asked to be part of this this one of these groups, multiple groups, and I ended up just wanting to find out more, researching more about what is like Aleister Crowley's teachings. So I'd start to read some of these books and watch videos about what do Satanists do, and what's the difference between Luciferianism and Satanism and the occult, and what is the history of tarot cards, and what exactly is going on when you're able to predict the future, or use these sort of methods. And I started to meet more and more people that would tell me these stories about growing up in families, occult families that would have like multi-generational involvement. So like they'd be forced as children to go, just very typical, the robes and everything, and the pentagrams, and that sacrificing animals and people were part of their religion, and it has been forever. And what sex magic is, there's energies that are created, vortexes that are created by having sex and different types of sex, and there's a very close connection between Satanism, Luciferianism, and pedophilia and child sex, child trafficking, and
Right.
the world of child trafficking goes back for a million years. So, the whole idea of torturing a child sexually, or killing a child and then drinking the child's blood. I mean, this is dark, thick stuff, and it's going on. It's going on right around us. You probably know someone who does this, and I started to realize that there were people that were close to me in my life that were deeply involved in this stuff. And I didn't grow up with that. I grew up as a Christian, and so I heard about the stuff, but I wasn't, and then this is deeply traumatic for people to grow up. The child pornography world is intertwined with this whole world, and there are people that grow up being abused, and then they become abusers, and then they're forced to do these rituals, and if they don't do the rituals, they're murdered. And this is like gang kind of stuff, it's like mafia kind of stuff. It's like stakes are very high, murders go down, and Hollywood's filled with these people. I had no idea. I mean, I grew up there, and I just started to realize like how deeply powerful these people were, and that they're at the very top of some of the major institutions, certainly in Hollywood. And so I once I started to realize like how real this was, I just was driven to write a movie about it. So that's what the movie's about. The movie's about a guy who He's a filmmaker. He lives in LA. He wants to get ahead in the business. He's got a little YouTube show that he does with his friends called the Pranksters. They kind of prank people, and it's gaining some popularity. But he really wants to like make a living at it. He's like broke, you know.
Yeah.
And then he meets this tarot card reader while he's doing a tarot card prank, and she's like a real tarot card reader, and she like reads everyone's future, and it's all right. She knows the past, present, and future. And then she reads his future, and that it says that they're gonna fall in love and have a baby, and that they're soulmates, and so he falls for her very deeply, and then that she's part of maybe, we don't know for sure, part of one of these elite satanic groups, and there's plans for him and his friends, and so it's a romance, it's a mystery, it's a horror, and it was it's a passion project. It's taken me 7 years to finish it.
Wow.
And it had another title for 7 years. It had another title, and then very recently, that title was stolen by Sony Pictures. They decided to steal my poster and my tagline and my fonts and the whole graphic. I mean,
what?
Crazy, yeah. You want to show the picture? I can send you the pictures,
Yeah,
right?
please, yeah.
So like, oh, this is so nuts. I mean,
wow, man.
So I had the poster up for a real long time on IMDb. It was called The Tarot, and then Sony had purchased this book called Horoscope, and but then they decided at some point, well, I don't know what, at some point they decided they wanted to change the title of the movie to Tarot. But I already had a movie called Tarot.
Yeah.
So I guess they went on to my website and or the IMDb page. Plus I had a Facebook page, but they're still trying to make it go down. I get all these copyright claims all the time. It's like, I've had this, I copyrighted this, you know, I mean, I've had it up for 7 years.
Yeah, bro. Wow.
Anyway, let me send this to you here. Let's see here. How do I send this?
If you can send it, message it on Facebook, maybe?
Yeah, let me get to Facebook here.
Man, and I've been seeing that more and more where, I mean, everybody's like comparing because they're like, man, is it me or is this movie look like so much like this movie?
Well, so yeah, I mean, if you could see here, put it up for your audience. I mean, they can compare it. I mean, it's
let me see. Okay, I downloaded this bad boy. And of course, I mean, this is wow.
Anyway,
something.
I tried to sue Sony. I got a lawyer. He was like, "Oh man, you copyright this." I pitched it to Sony. So I mean, like, they know about the movie, and so we were gonna do an injunction and all this, and then my lawyer stops returning my phone calls at a certain point. We started getting emails or back and forth between Sony. They're not admitting to anything, and then all of a sudden, my lawyer goes, "I'm dropping the case." And I'm like, "But there's so much evidence." And he's like, "I'm dropping the case. Oh, I wish you good luck." You know, so I don't know. I don't know if he was like being threatened or.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna put the image up. Okay, this is the image.
So that's what's coming out next month.
Yeah.
Okay? Now you can see that it says "Your fate is in the cards." See that font, right. White, all capitals, tarot. Right. Yeah. There's a hand coming from above, and it's dealing a skeleton on a tarot card. Right. It's right. Camera's looking down. Okay, now look at mine. Wait, that's what it is now.
Yeah.
Look at the other one.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Let me. I saw it and I didn't download it, but here it goes. Okay.
The audience is like, they look nothing like.
I know. They're like, no, what is this guy talking about? No, here it goes. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna go back real quick. Man, well, that's kind of pretty freaking scary, man. Because yeah, I mean, for your lawyer to go ahead and just say like, I'm dropping it. I mean, why?
Yeah,
That's
with no explanation. Do you find it?
yes, sir. I'm gonna put it up right now.
Okay, so that's mine, right? You can see the white all caps. Your fate is in the cards.
Bro.
Same exact tagline, right?
Bro.
Similar font. We're looking down on the table. There's a skeleton
Card.
in the card. There's a hand from above, right? Now look at their tarot.
Hey,
Let's go back and forth, right? It's pretty
bro.
obvious,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
now I'm in the midst of like trying to sell my movie to a distributor, and it's like, how can I do that when this movie is coming out in May to all the theaters in America, right? So it's like I can't release my movie now, called The Tarot.
Man.
So
And I was gonna ask you because when I looked it up, yeah, the other one kept popping up, and I was like, man, that's what I was like, what a coincidence. I'm like, dude, and I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that, and I was like, dude, I said, man, I bet you they took his stuff, dude. I mean, because there's no way. I mean, being
it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, being an indie filmmaker, I mean,
I was really upset at first, and then I was like, gotta sue them, and this is I had copywritten it in 2017, so like I had, and there's like pitch meetings like where I was pitching to Sony, and they're in the room. I mean, there's videotape of them. I mean, it's crazy the evidence that I've got. But it's like they're a gigantic monolith. They're a huge company, and you just it's like David and Goliath. And sometimes you just have to, take the loss. And so now, this happened just like a couple months ago, but I just pivoted. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to retitle the movie. So I had to re-edit my movie, so it's got a new title. Came up with a new logo. You want to put that up there now for the?
Yeah, it's just going to be the. There you
go. So it's got a whole new, the trailer's got a new logo. Everything's been redone. So now it's called The Occult.
Yeah.
And you know what? I like it better than Tarot. I mean, I'm actually, I like the logo better. I like the movie poster. I like the tagline better. Like everything about this, like Sony's theft actually made my movie better. And I think it's more appropriate to the story. It's not really about tarot cards anyway. There are tarot cards in the movie, but it's more
right.
Occult. And I'm grateful. So I'm happy we're moving forward. And then also, in the process, I met with most of the distributors out there that take horror films, okay. And I got 5 offers for distribution, but just for streaming. And but I don't know about your viewers knowing what an MG is, but it's called minimum guarantee.
Right.
But when you make a movie, an independent movie, what you're hoping to get is a minimum guarantee from a distributor. They're going to give you some money. That used to be the case. Now the industry is so different. There's no MG anymore. And so I don't have any stars in my movie, although the villain of my movie is a famous horror film director and writer. So Tom Holland, not Spider-Man Tom Holland, but Tom Holland, who wrote and directed Fright Night and Child's Play. He invented Child's Play. He invented the Chucky character, and he's a good friend of mine and a mentor. He also wrote Psycho 2, and he is the villain in the movie. So that's my only famous person in the film. Although everyone in the film, all the actors are working actors. You'll have seen them like in other movies and other TV shows. You'll be like, oh yeah, that guy from The Equalizer. But but yeah, the deals that you can get for a distributor for an independent film are pretty crap. Yeah. And you're most likely not going to make your money back. And also, most people aren't even going to see your movie. And so, end up on Redbox maybe, or, just scrolling by on one of the streaming apps. And I love the movie theater experience, and this movie was meant to be seen in a movie theater. It's a date night movie. It's romantic. It's scary. It's it's a movie theater movie. It's a real old fashioned kind of movie, and I want it to be in theaters. And so I decided I was not going to make a streaming deal, and instead put it in theaters. And so the movie is going to be in theaters across America, and only in theaters, and I'm distributing it myself.
Nice, dude. I love that.
So I'm actually going on tour with the movie full time in June. So I'm going to be. If you want to follow along, you can go to theoccultmovie.com, and there'll be a vlog. I'll be vlogging about it, but I'll be one theater. I'm going to be booking one theater at a time,
right.
And the movie will be free. So you'll be able to go to a movie, check it out, and if you like the movie, you can donate to the tour. But the movie will be free. I'll be renting theaters, and every seat will be free. And so you can reserve a seat online, and I'll be promoting it as I go across America. And I'll be probably 6 months on tour, just going from state to state, and showing the movie to audiences.
Man, well, I'm definitely going to be following along, man, because I'm rooting for you, bro. I mean, you're the underdog in this situation. I mean, they obviously freaking took everything, when it comes to.
Well, they just took my poster. They didn't take that.
Right.
They got their own crappy movie that's got nothing to do with mine. But no, I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, nobody steals anything that's worthless. And if a major movie corporation wants to steal from me, it's only a compliment. Yeah. Because it's if I had a shitty movie poster and a shitty concept and a shitty tagline, they wouldn't take in all of my everything, Yeah. And so it's like, okay, you can take that. I can come up with something better. And then you've already stolen that. So now you're forced to keep my old idea that, it's like, this is a better idea. Now I'm thinking that idea is kind of shitty. I mean, it's okay, but this is way better. Yeah. But you got to just keep moving forward. You got to take your licks, I mean, the movie is about how Hollywood is run by satanic pedophiles. Yeah. I mean, that's the movie. And they're going to steal from, they're going to rape children and eat them and stuff. I mean, it's like they're going to steal ideas too. I mean, it's a cutthroat, evil business.
No, yeah, you see, and especially, I mean, and that's one of those things, man, because when it comes to the big screen, I mean, it's been said that, it's heavily funded, but the reason for it is because a lot of these big movies, they're making movies for films for us to watch so much that after a while we're like, oh, okay, yeah, well, it's been going on, because a lot of the truth is hidden, man. I believe that, I mean, the people with money, I mean, they're literally getting away with murder. They got the money to get in and out of things.
We're finding out, it's starting to come out with P. Diddy, and then with Dan Schneider at Nickelodeon, and Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of these shows are really about human trafficking. It's like making these people famous, and then they're also for sale for rich people.
Oh yeah.
A lot of these shows are like little catalogs for sick people who want to rent them out. It's like a lot of people don't realize how many big celebrities, big movie actors are actually the other business is their agents are pimping them out. Yeah.
No, yeah, I believe it. I mean, there's a price to pay, because I mean, it's on who when it comes to life and a lot of different perspectives. And that I've known, I mean, growing up, I mean, just working different jobs where, the people that, that's their buddy, of course, they're going to get the better job, or they're going to ask for favors, or they're going to ask, because it's a dog eat dog world, man. And a lot of times, I mean, for me, it's just at one point becoming self-employed was the smartest thing I did. And, I'm glad I did when I did that. I was a postal employee 15 years, got out of that. I just started working for myself, and, the pressure was off. I was a lot happier.
What's your business?
I'm a contract delivery driver. I mean, that's what I've been doing for the past 7 years. I actually work as a building maintenance now, but it's a part-time job. I have 2 part-time jobs, bro. And then delivery contract service. I mean, that was just me. You know, I'm boss, so it's like I get things done and get paid for it, man. So it's was a smart move for myself. You know, I enjoy it.
Well, me too. I when I was making this movie in LA, I was doing Postmates, and Postmates funded my movie.
Yeah.
And I was, every once in a while I'll get like a big job. Like a couple of years ago, I directed a Super Bowl commercial, and then it's like, and I directed a Honda commercial. I directed 8 commercials in a row. It was a great year. Made a lot of money, and then all the work dried up, and I'm like delivering food again. It's like, it's a roller coaster ride. Some people think, you make it in business. Like I've had huge successes in my career. And then a lot of people think, oh, once you've had a couple successes, then that's it forever. But it's like, no, like most of Hollywood is, especially now anyway, is out of work. You do what you got to do to pay the bills. But, there's a one thing that I can share about Hollywood that a lot of people don't know. I mean, I think people kind of get it. Like it's a little bit obvious, but they don't realize like how to the extent it is. But like I would say 80 to 90% of the people that you see up on the screen and that are running the mainstream Hollywood, they're rich already.
Yeah.
Like they didn't get rich from the movies. Like they're the sons and daughters of the most richest people on the planet.
Yeah.
And it's like, as soon as they graduate high school or graduate college, from Harvard or whatever, they go straight in them. They're just placed. They're just placed right into the heart of it. And so I mentioned this before about your competition, about getting in, trying to wrestle your way in through all these rich kids and everything. But yeah, it's a rigged game, just like the rest of the world.
No, yeah, for sure, man. Well, let me ask you, man, because of course, this is what's going on as far as the movie. I mean, you're going to be going on tour with it, like you stated earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, while all this is going on, I mean, are you writing anything right now? I mean, are you working on something for next year?
I've got a couple scripts that I'm working on, and but this is really like my main focus. I had this realization in the last year that made me realize to kind of put every egg in this one basket, which is that so the movie industry is 100 years old. Okay, and there's roughly 5 studios that have been running Hollywood this whole time, and they've been releasing each of them has released a movie per week since we've been alive, since our parents and grandparents been alive. And so there's about 300 movies that come out into the theaters every year. And that's just been that way forever. Up until right before COVID, the rise of the streaming services and COVID all of a sudden the studios started to create their own streaming platforms. And so they realized they could save a lot of money, because when you release a movie, you're spending upwards of $50 to $100 million just on advertisements. But if you make a movie, if the studio makes a movie and then puts it onto their streaming platform, and they don't have to advertise it, and so that saves them millions of dollars. So they started to do just straight to the streaming platforms, big movies with big movie stars, never even making it to theaters. So last year, most people don't know that only 88 movies came out last year, down from 300. Right. And now the amount of movies that are coming out this year, 44.
Damn.
So there's 40 movies coming out of Hollywood, down from 300 a year. Right. So the movie theaters are in a crisis situation. And by the way, they're not coming back. Like we're never going back up to 300 again. Like the studios are going down. Like the whole Hollywood system is crashing, because the competition is TikTok and YouTube. Yeah. And there's like millions and millions of people who are competing with Hollywood right now. And every time you watch a TikTok video, you would have been watching like Disney Plus or Netflix or something that cost a lot of money to.
Oh yeah, man, because they're out there, like you said.
So you
gotta excuse my neighbor's dogs, man. They're out there playing around.
So there's only so many times of the day. Every eyeball is you got two eyeballs looking at something. It's either looking at Hollywood stuff or it's looking at TikTok. And 70% of all video streams is TikTok. Yeah. And so what's going on is Hollywood's in a free fall collapse. And there's not enough movies in them. If you go to the movies right now, there's the same 3 movies and then Goonies or like Gone with the Wind or Jaws or some anime movie you've never heard of. But they're all of the theaters that in each of those multiplexes used to be filled with all of these different movies.
Yeah.
Not anymore. So I realized that you can, instead of making a deal with a distributor, you can just make a deal with a movie theater chain. Yeah. And so, but before I do that, I need to prove that people like this movie. And that's why I'm going around the country and giving free screenings, bring people in the theater to film them watching the movie, to ask them what they think of it. I already did one screening in San Marcos.
Yeah, you're telling me about that.
All I did was I passed out flyers, and 250 people showed up, and they loved the movie. So I was like, wow, this is great. I could just do this again and again all over the country.
No, yeah, because I mean, I did watch it. I appreciate you sending me that link, man. I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, I got hooked on it. Where it had a hook to where it did get my attention. And one of the things I always tell people, because even in the theater, like if I'm watching something and I lose interest, man, or it just, I mean, after that, it's hard for me to get back on it, But with this one, it kept me entertained. It was a great story. The characters were great, and there was a story behind it, So obviously, those that are going to be going to theaters to watch it, they're definitely gonna enjoy it, man.
What did you like the most about it?
Man, for me, and this is just from personal, when it comes to the whole relationship thing, because it's like, right when you think it's something good and it does a whole 360, and you're kind of in the movie, he second guess himself, and then somebody else comes up and that he was involved in, and you're kind of like, damn, like, what do I do? It's just like a conflict, and so that kind of I could relate to that, But the whole tarot, like I said, in the family, I do have family members that read cards. I have family that go to some of these psychic readings, and they I don't want to say believe in it. I mean, they do it because it's something that they want to do, but it's just like I said, like for myself, I've never done it. I mean, it's one of those things where. I mean, for me personally, it's just like, man, I'm just shooting from the hip, and what happens. I will say this though, man, and not to get off the movie subject real quick, but earlier you were talking about growing up and having psychic visions. Were you talking about deja vu?
I've had deja vu, but I've also had things like something is going to happen, and I predicted it.
But is it like kind of like if you're thinking about it, like say this morning, and then it happens later on that day, or is it like later on?
Yeah, like it could be that, or it could be like way in the future. Sometimes when I was a kid, I would take like a deck of cards, and I would be like 8 of spades. It'd be like 8 of spades.
I used to do that.
And I was like, and I would do it over, and I would get it. I would scare myself because I would be like right so many times.
Yeah.
And so that was, that was like. How did that happen? When you're a kid, you don't know like what is real and what isn't real, and then your parents tell you there's no monsters, and then these things that are in the movies, they're not real, but then you're like wondering, well, maybe is like Bigfoot real, and what is real and what isn't real, and then it's like if you grow up Christian, you're also told that things are real that you can't see, that you can't prove, so there's all this like supernatural stuff, like Jesus walked on water, he like made wine from water, and I know
you're supposed to believe that, right? You're like,
it's like, wow, well, is that real or is it not real? And so many things are brought to us as like, this is real, but it's impossible. And it's like there's a lot of stuff going on, that we're in our culture. It's hard to know what's real and what isn't real. And yet most people have experienced some kind of like saw a UFO, or they saw a spirit or something in the forest, or they're thinking about someone, they haven't thought about them for years, and all of a sudden they call. Like, what's that? Like something that is real. Like that is supernatural. Like, how did that happen? Or it's like they're going to walk in the street and then they hear, you know, like I had an experience one time. This guy wanted to kill me, and I was in a bar at night. It was just the two of us. We were like kicked out because we were fighting, and we went into the alleyway, and I knew that this guy had been trained like for combat, you know, for to kill, and his family was in the CIA, and he was like for real, you know, like he was a cold-blooded killer, and he was looking to punch my sternum, like to crush my sternum. And murder me in right there in the parking lot. And so he's fisted. He's running at me. The guy's like 6'3". He's like running at me with his fist, you know, coming out, and he's looking right at this sternum, you know. And everything slowed down, and I heard this whisper, a voice. I heard a voice in like kind of in my head, but like outside. It was like a woman whispering to me almost. Like it was maybe a man, maybe a woman, but it was a whisper. And the whisper was, this is what I heard. You're safe. Right? I heard that. Wow. And so everything slowed down, and his fist stopped like an inch away from hitting me. And then he was thrown back by some kind of force. I didn't touch him. I was just standing like my, you know, feet flat on the ground, like my weight was in my heels, and my shoulders were back. I was just standing like this, and I felt like I was safe, like I believed the voice, and so it happened so quickly, and then he was thrown backwards, almost fell down, like he stumbled backwards like 5 feet, and then he turned like white as a ghost, you know, like he was shocked. And then all of a sudden he was angrier, and he came back for another try at me. Right. And I just put my hands down. Like I didn't even put my hands up. It was the weirdest thing. So supernatural. Right. And so I'm just standing there, and he comes at me, and his fist is coming right at me. And same thing happens, like some kind of force field or something pushes him back. He flies farther backwards, and I see the bottom of his shoes as he's flying backwards, and he lands on his back, and he is on the ground in front of me. And this mutual friend of ours, she was there, standing there watching me, and I look at her like, what the, you know, he's also like, her eyeballs were huge, right? And his eyeballs are huge, and I was like so calm for some reason. And then he just scrambles and runs away. And then she ends up looking at me, looking at him, and then she was better friends with him, so she goes running after him. And I'll never forget that. And then 10 years later goes by, and I'm in the same bar, and I see him. I hadn't seen him since. And he comes over to me. He's super drunk. He goes, "Let me buy you a beer." And he like puts his hand around me, and he goes, "I tried to kill you that night, but it didn't work. Let me buy you a beer." And I said, "That's all right. I'm not drinking tonight." And then I ended up leaving a few minutes later, but that was one of those things where it's like, what happened? Yeah. What exactly happened there? Was that an angel, or what did that? Like, I heard it, you know, I saw it. There was a witness. Everything that I'm telling you happened exactly the way it did. I had no part in it. Like, I didn't like summon something to save me. Yeah. You know, it was really, really weird. But I've had many experiences that are kind of like that. That's probably the most dramatic, where someone's like trying to murder me. And yeah, definitely. Like, I think a lot of people have experiences when you break it down, when you reveal a story like that to somebody, that usually they go, "Oh, my grandfather had this thing, you know, and there was a train coming or something, you know." Like, we all have these kinds of, either it happened to us, or we know someone. Someone named Tiffany Reynolds has something to say here. You want to address what she says?
Yeah, let me get it right now. Says the occult and tarot are misunderstood. I do tarot and know things about the occult, and people always assume the worst about it. There's good and bad, and in between, like a movie. Depends on the subject, on what subject you want to know. Most people want to know monsters, strange things that go bump in the night. I know your film will be a hit. You see, she can tell the future, bro. I'll say that much. No, but yeah, I mean, she, I do. She's a vendor. Of course, she does. She does read. I do follow her on social media, and that's one of the things, like I said earlier, man. Because for me, I've been around supernatural. I've seen ghosts. I've heard things. I've seen things, reflections. I mean, I can tell you stories, bro. And there's a couple of them. I remember throughout life after my dad sold our home, we kind of moved around quite a bit, and 2 houses that we lived in were haunted. There were things going on that we just couldn't explain. The biggest one for me, it's like literally down a couple of blocks down the street, 2-story house we moved into during middle school. Same thing, we get there and everybody's happy. It's like a big house. We're like, oh man, 2 floors. Everybody had their own room. Come to find out, like, before you know it, I'm downstairs. I used to look up. I used to lean over to my sofa. The door was here. You look up the stairs, big old window, and then the stairs come back. And you would hear, I would be watching TV and I could hear people like talking, like having a conversation, but you could barely hear it. And I'm like, and I would look over and you would see the reflection of people, like this lady walking by. And I'm like, damn, man. I mean, I get chills now, man. And it's just one of those things that happened for a few months. And one time, we were coming back home from a quinceañera or somebody's birthday, right? And we're driving up our big old driveway and we see this silhouette. And I was like, oh, my sister's home, So I get up and run inside, go upstairs, go to the room, nothing. Check downstairs. I'm looking, and my mom's downstairs, bringing stuff in. And I was like, Alma was my sister, right? She's not here. Nobody's here. She's like, oh, I know. And they kind of stayed like that. Like, nobody said anything. We didn't talk about it. Well, we moved, and it wasn't until years later, I told my mom, I said, hey, I drove by that house today. And she's like, which one? And I said, that 2-story house. That's it. And she's like, oh, the haunted one? And I was like, I said, you know what? I said, why did we move? Why did we ever move from there? And she's like, well, because that lady, I will wake up, she'd be standing over me, watching me. And I'm like, bro, I was like, dude, yeah, man. Like, like I said, even now I got goosebumps, man. Like, that's wow. But it's just one of those things where I was just like, because I used to see it, man. I used to hear, you know, and it's just, we don't know how to explain it. People are like, oh, it's a shadow or it's whatever's outside.
There's another dimension, and so I think, what Tiffany was talking about, and it's like, it's just, you got to be careful. Because when you're dipping into the unseen world, the spirit world, you don't know who you're talking to. Yeah. Just like spirits are just like people. Some people are serial murderers, and some people are good, nice people that are going to want to help you. And but we're living in the physical world, and it's very difficult for us to really understand what's going on in that other world. It's like another dimension, right? And so we're weak in that world, So if we go and we open ourselves up to that world, it can be dangerous. We just got to be careful. A spirit saying that they'll, that there's deals you could make with spirits. They do you a favor, and then you do them a favor, and some of them are like parasites. Like when you part of what I learned is when you get really drunk, or when you're really high, or that you open yourself up to and there's spirits that they want to have a physical experience, and they can't, because they're non-physical, right? But maybe they in a past life, or maybe it's just a certain vibration of being drunk or whatever, but they want to have that feeling of being drunk. And so you can summon them into your body. And it's like those people who like black out drunk, they have no idea what they were doing. It's like, well, who was behind the wheel?
Yeah.
You know, and maybe it was not you. Maybe you had invited a spirit in to enjoy the drunkenness, and then they inhabited you. You know, that spirit of the whole idea of spirit demonic possession is open at any time to bring in a spirit, and these people who are part of the really learned people, very scholarly people who know about these traditions. You know, there's a rule book. You know, you can dive down deep into that and learn how to gain power and tap into that spirit world. It just comes with a price, and it can come with a very, very deep price.
No,
And
no.
it's you gotta be careful when you're dealing with any, you know, dealing with power tools. You got to be careful. You know, read the instructions. You know, like talk to somebody who knows, who's been there before. Don't just pick up a chainsaw and just start, you know, pushing buttons and stuff. You know, I mean,
Oh, no, definitely, man. You see, and I was gonna say too, man, because there was you're talking about being drunk. You know, one time, I was one of the homes we lived in, and I used to have the room in the back, and I used to hear voices, bro, like mind you, like out of this closet. Well, one day we had been drinking the whole night before. You know, I'm laying in my room. I'm up. I'm awake. Lights are dim. You know, sun was up, so I could still see sunlight. And I look up, and I didn't have a door in my room at that time. We didn't have one, so I had this. It was like a banner or something from some band, right? That I just hung up, and I had it. And I'm awake, and I'm looking up, and I see who I think is my younger brother, like in the room, and because he would always walk in there, and I'm like, "Hey, get out of my room, man!" And he's standing there, and I grab my pillow and I throw it, and it goes right through him.
whoa.
I was like, dude, I jumped up, went out the back door, ran all, and I'm like in high school, mind you, bro. Like I'm teenager, you know, and
Yeah.
I go to the front, and my mom's like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah," you know, and I'm just sitting there next to her watching TV, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "You want something to drink?" You know, because I'm pretty sure. I mean, I was shook, man. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I'd been drinking the night before, and I know people can jump on here and say, "Oh, well, you know what, you were drunk," you know, but that whole third eye, that whole being weak, and whether it's on, you know, because you're weak minded one day or depressed or whatever, and you allow something like that, man, I believe that, you know, and that's kind of, you know, for me, it's always mind over matter. You know, I used to always tell my kids, like, you know, if I wake up and I'm starting to feel sick, or I'm starting to feel like, I'd be like, you know what, man, not today, boom, literally, and I'm good. Like my mind's that strong, or you know what I mean? Like I can make that happen. Like I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna get sick, and I just keep going, and I don't. I just feel good. I'm you know, I go about my business. But you know, when your mind's weak like that, and yeah, you allow things, or you're like, oh, you know, I wish I'll give anything for this, and it's like somebody's listening, man. So you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Man, okay, yeah, I'm gonna change the subject, man, because I don't have a night light. I don't want to leave my hallway light on tonight.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, man. But there's a lot of, I mean, there's a lot more on this that I definitely want to bring you back and talk about, because, like I said, I've got stories, man. I've seen things, I've heard things, I've been around. Um, you know, just when it comes to apparitions,
Mhm.
you know, mysterious person walking up to me. I look over, they're gone, and I'm like, what the world? Like, I mean, it's just crazy, man. But I was gonna say earlier too, because one day I was telling a buddy of mine, like, yeah, you know, like this house, you know, we lived in, it was haunted. We went to this other house. It was three houses that we lived in separate times, and he's there talking to me. He's looking at me. He's looking at, like, straight in my eyes, and he's like, bro, what if it's you that's haunted? And I like freaked. I was like, holy! I was like, bro, like I had never thought about that, and I was just like, man, you know, like it's you know, baptized as Christian, you know, I believe in God. And it's like every day, if something happens, I'm like, you know, whatever is not of you, you know, get rid of it, man.
Mm.
Keep going, you know. But it's you know, that helps me, you know. But yeah, we'll definitely dive into that one a lot more later, because I'm sure you got stories too, bro.
Yeah,
But
I'd love to come back. You know, when we start the tour, and
yeah,
July 1st, we're going to be screening the movie at Paragon Theaters in Naples, Florida, and that's going to be a premiere event. There's going to be a Q&A. Tom Holland will be zooming in and for question and answers. So if y'all are in Florida and or near Naples, but I'm literally going from town. I'm putting everything I own in storage, so I'm actually just on the road starting next month. And so I'm going to start in Florida, and then I'll probably go, around Florida for a while, and then go up into the South Georgia, just making deals with movie theaters and then promoting. So just getting just living the kind of like a rambling lifestyle, but it's really the first time movie theaters are open to this type of thing. This is called, they call it four-walling, but this is a little bit different because it's a free movie, and it's I'll take donations, but I'm really excited about doing it. I've never heard of anyone doing anything quite like this, so it's an experiment, and I'd love to check back in with you and let you know how it goes.
No, for sure, man, because I was going to say, I mean, when it comes to the movie itself, the website, I'm going to post it on here, but say it one more time.
Yeah, it's theoccultmovie.com.
And of course, I mean, they can follow up. I mean, you're going to have it on your blog. I myself, I'm going to be following up. I know I've got some other networking buddies out there that I'm going to plug in and let them know, because this is something that, I personally want to support you in, then, to give people a heads up as far as where you're going, where you're going to be at. One of the things that I love to do, and I've done with the whole combat sports, is if a fighter was fighting in a certain city, like I would start researching and networking what stores were around there. Well, back then it was sports, gyms, and just start interacting and just messaging people and create a buzz, just to give everybody a heads up, like, hey, this is coming to your town. Like, if you know somebody that knows somebody, especially now, it's going to be free.
Yeah.
So why not?
I'll be there about 2 weeks early, and I've been what I'm doing is passing out flyers that look like tarot cards.
Nice.
They look. Oh, my phone, my camera just dropped out, but wow. They look like tarot cards, but they're not. And then they have a QR code that'll take you to that page, and you can reserve a seat. And but yeah, that's what I did in San Marcos. I had thousands of those what looked like tarot cards, and I would leave them on front porches and put them on, face down on cafe tables, and people would be like, "What the single tarot card?"
You get a reading, huh?
Like, what's this? And then it says coming to a theater near you, and there's a QR code. And yeah,
can I have one of those?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll mail you.
I would love to. Yeah, man. I'll buy it. I'll pay for shipping, but I definitely want one of those, man. That's creative, genius. I love it. But my man, I do appreciate you. I don't know if you'd be able to jump back on, or is your camera out?
No, my camera's it has like an hour maximum. And I gotta split too. So
well, not a problem, man. But dude, I was gonna say, is it the whole tarot card doing this? What's going on? Dude, that was perfect timing too, man. I was on cue. But man, I appreciate you, brother. Like I said, I'm gonna be in touch outside of this. Everybody out there, of course, once again, theoccult.com. I'm gonna have the website on the YouTube channel.
Theoccultmovie.com.
Yes, sir. I apologize. And I'm gonna have everything ready. Send people to your page and keep up with you, man. When it comes to your blog, where you're gonna be at, and by all means, I'm gonna be doing as much as I can on my end, and ask others to do the same.
Thanks, Mario. Appreciate it,
man. Appreciate you, sir. Don't hang up yet. Everybody out there, of course. Once again, this is sPidA, the Coming Soon podcast. Till next time.